What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Corey Tulliver from No Ceilings, and today we are going to go over the first round from No Ceilings' latest mock draft, which is available now at NoCeilingsNBA.com. The way this works is we handle this war room style. We get together for a meeting. There's about 10 of us, and we nominate picks, and then we vote on the picks. Majority rules. We go through why they fit, why they don't fit, who would be a better fit, but ultimately it comes down to a vote and majority rules. So with that said, let's get right into it. And with the first pick in the 2024 NBA draft, the Detroit Pistons are going to select Alex Sarr. Alex Sarr is a 7-foot big man who is currently playing for the Perth Wildcats in the NBL down in Australia. He is in the mold of the Evan Mobley, the Chet Holmgrens of the super unicorny big who can switch out on the perimeter and guard multiple positions. He protects the rim, come over from the weak side, send your shit into the stands. And then offensively, the hope is that he becomes a more consistent shooter. But as it stands right now, he's a guy who's going to clean up the glass, hammer home offensive putback dunks, be a lob threat be a rim roller, just a guy who is going to get easy, efficient buckets. He has to put on some weight. He has to hone that offensive game, but the flashes that he has right now are super impressive. It might not be the cleanest fit with the Detroit Pistons, but in this draft that is so devoid of top-tier talent, the Pistons are going to bet that that shot works out. He fits in the front court with Jalen Dunn and becomes an ideal partner with Cade Cunningham. With the second overall pick, the San Antonio Spurs are going to select Nikola Topic, the 6'6" playmaking point guard who is currently playing for Red Star, but began his season with Mega Basket. You might have heard of Nikola Jokic. That is his former team. The San Antonio Spurs are in dire need of a point guard, right? That's all we heard all year is that Jeremy Sohan is not doing a good job making things easy for Victor Wembanyama. Well, Nikola Topic is going to make that a hell of a lot easier. He has size. He has elite playmaking ability. He is going to form a deadly pick and roll partner with Victor Wembanyama and the rest of the talented Spurs roster. Currently, Topic struggles as a shooter, but he is an unreal finisher. He was finishing close to 68% of his shots around the rim in the Adriatic League. Topic is one of the youngest players in the draft. He is loaded with upside. Right now, he is out with an injury, but he is going to be getting major minutes in the EuroLeague, which is the second best league in the world. When he comes back, he'll have a few games to prove himself that this wasn't a fluke with Mega, but as it is, he was putting up unheralded numbers in that league for his age. Nikola Topic to the Spurs at number 2. With the third overall pick in the draft, the Washington Wizards select Reed Sheppard from Kentucky. Now, hold on. I know what you're thinking. You're going, how could Reed Sheppard possibly be going in the top 3 of the 2024 NBA draft? Well, for one, he is an awesome basketball player. He is always doing the right things, always in the right spot. He makes winning plays. He is just somebody that is a coach's dream. Beyond that, the dude is a hooper. He might be the best shooter in the draft. He's currently shooting like 57% from 3. Beyond that, he is an excellent playmaker. He rebounds, and he is an insane defender. He boasts a steal percentage over 5 and a block percentage over 3. Right now, he is one of the most productive freshmen in the last 15 years with a BPM that is one of the highest out of any freshman, again, in the last 15 years. We're talking, he's up there with Zion Williamson. He's up there with Anthony Davis. Super cool Bees. Kevin Love. Real legit NBA talent. Reed Sheppard is just a great basketball player, man. The Wizards need great basketball players. Reed Sheppard, Bilal Coulibaly is a hell of a start for a rebuild down in Washington. With the 4th pick in the 2024 NBA draft, the Hornets select Zaccharie Risacher. Risacher is a 6'8", 6'9" French wing who has been lighting the net on fire. He's shooting about 47% from 3. He can dribble, pass, shoot, and defend. Look, his game is pretty simplistic. There's nothing super sexy about it, but when you already have a LaMelo Ball and a Brandon Miller who's going to handle the bulk of the scoring, getting a complimentary player like Risacher who could fit in next to your Mark Williams and your 2 stud building blocks is an excellent use of a pick in the top 5 in a draft that doesn't have many guarantees. After a tough summer, Zaccharie Risacher has really rebounded with his play this season, and he has re-earned his spot in the top 5. With the 5th pick in the 2024 NBA draft. The Portland Trailblazers will be selecting Cody Williams from Colorado. Williams is 6'8". He's long. He's a do-it-all wing. He dribbles, he passes, and he kind of shoots. He's knocking down his shots this year, but the volume is still super low. But the versatility in his game is exactly what you want to pair your Scoot Hendersons, your Anthony Simons, your Shaedon Sharps, and he doesn't need the ball to dominate, but he can be a connecting piece to get those guys the rock in their spots. He's also going to be a versatile defender, and he can fill in the gaps for Jeremy Grant when the Blazers inevitably move off of him. So Cody Williams, brother of Jalen Williams from the Oklahoma City Thunder, rounds out our top 5. With the 6th pick in the draft, the Memphis Grizzlies are going to take Jacoby Walter. Look, it's been a rough year for the Grizzlies, but maybe it could be a blessing in disguise. They've dealt with a ton of injuries, and they've long been searching for a wing to play next to Ja and Desmond Bane in between Jaren Jackson. Jacoby Walter might not be 6'7", 6'8" like they would prefer, but the dude is the perfect fit as an off-ball sniper next to those guys. He doesn't need the ball in his hands a lot. He runs off screens, right? He can spot up, and he has the frame and skill set to grow beyond just that spot-up role. But in the meantime, when you already have that core together, he can come in and play a really simplistic but valuable role for a team that next year is going to hope that they can be back in that contention. They've taken some swings on guys like Zaire Williams, Jake LaRavia, David Roddy. None of those guys have really worked out, but maybe Jacoby Walter, the talented wing from Baylor, can turn that around, fill in that gap, and return the Grizzlies to prominence next year. At number 7, the San Antonio Spurs are back on the clock, and they are going to take Tidjane Salaun from France. Now, in a draft like this, that again, I'm going to say it over and over, has so much uncertainty, Salaun is the exact kind of player you want to take a swing on. He has really heated up as of late, shooting close to 40% over his last handful of games. He's 6'9", 6'10", excellent mobility, high release on his jumper. At his best, he looks like Michael Porter Jr., and that is exactly what the Spurs are hoping to get, taking him, pairing him with a playmaker like Nikola earlier on, and then sandwiching in between Victor Wembanyama. He's a guy who's not going to have to create a ton of his own offense, just score efficiently off cuts, off transition, and off spot-up attempts. The perfect kind of big wing the Spurs could use in their rebuild. With the 8th pick in the 2024 NBA draft, the Atlanta Hawks are going to select Stephon Castle. Look, there's a lot of uncertainty with the Atlanta Hawks roster this year. There's trade talks with DeJounte Murray. Who knows what's going to happen with Trae Young, who's having a phenomenal season. AJ Griffin's in the doghouse. We haven't seen a lot of Kobe Buffkin. So the Hawks are just going to take best player available right now, and they're going to go with Stephon Castle, the 6'6" combo guard out of UConn. Now, Castle is not shooting it well right now. As a matter of fact, we kind of wish that he would shoot it a little bit more, even if it's not going in. But everything else that he does on the floor is the exact thing that you would like to see next to Trae Young, who's going to let it fly himself. Castle can defend multiple positions. He's big, strong, and long. He can get to the hoop. He's got great footwork. He can pass the rock. He rebounds. He's a real do-it-all gadgety player. Getting a young guy like that next to Trae Young in the backcourt for years to come is an excellent fit. And again, you're betting on top-tier talent from a great program, so the Hawks are going to take Castle at 8. At number 9, the Chicago Bulls are going to take Matas Buzelis of the G League Ignite. At one point was the projected first overall pick. He's 6'10". He can dribble, pass, and shoot. And if you squint enough, he resembles Franz Wagner a little bit. However, he doesn't have that same playmaking feel. He doesn't have the same defensive chops that Franz had, but still a very talented player that is going to be able to fit whatever the Chicago Bulls decide to do. If they want to rebuild, you can have Buzelis and Patrick Williams in that front court. You can have him next to Kobe White. If you want to compete, maybe he can come in, be a bench player, be their version of Nikola Mirotic going forward. Buzelis, though, is a super talented guy who is just getting his footing under him in the G League, playing against pros. And it doesn't hurt that he's Lithuanian, like Chicago Bulls GM Arturas Karnisovas. At number 10, we're going back-to-back with G League Ignite prospects, and the Utah Jazz are going to select Ron Holland. Now, for some, this might seem a little bit late for Ron. He's a guy who is super athletic with a ridiculous first step. He's got really fun athleticism. He gets out in transition. He will put one on your head if you give him a little bit of room. But Ron still has a lot to figure out when it comes to the nuances of the game. He's really struggled as a playmaker. He's struggled with turnovers. So Ron really has to slow things down a little bit and become more efficient overall, not take some of the bad off the dribble threes, learn to survive as a cutter and doing the dirty work, being more solid defensively and not going for steals and blocks. Ron has a real opportunity to be a difference maker. And I think that somebody like Danny Ainge, who's taken a guy like Jaylen Brown, who was really, really raw coming out of Cal, will have the patience to sit and develop Ron because the talent isn't in question. So getting him at 10 here, while it seems like a mini slide, is a real good opportunity for Ron not to have the pressure of a franchise cornerstone and develop at his own pace. At number 11, the Houston Rockets are going to take the electric Rob Dillingham. Look, they're just going to take the best talent available here. Rob has been absolutely phenomenal for Kentucky this year. There were a lot of skeptics out there, myself included, but he has shut us all up with his play. He is playing efficiently, knocking down shots off the catch, off movement, off the bounce. He is playmaking like a madman with an assist percentage over 30. He gets into lane at will. It's going to be a struggle for him defensively, and that's a real concern because the NBA is starting to phase out smaller guards, and while Rob is listed at 6'3", I've stood next to him. I'm really not buying that. It'll be interesting to see what he measures in at the combine, but you cannot deny how electric he is on the court, how much talent he has, and how much fun Reed and Rob have been off the bench for this Kentucky team. The guy is loaded with talent. He's going to fit in with a young, exciting Houston Rockets core that's mixing in well with those veterans and Ime Udoka's leadership at coach. So the Houston Rockets get a home run pick here with Rob Dillingham outside the top 10. At number 12, the New Orleans Pelicans are going to take big man Donovan Clingan from UConn. Clingan is an advanced stats monster. Helped UConn win the national championship last year off the bench with his solid play, protecting the rim, rebounding the ball, setting monster screens, and just being efficient offensively. It's been a little bit up and down for Donovan Clingan this year. There was some hopes that he could be a top 5 player, but he struggled to stay healthy. And when he does, he struggled to play the minutes that NBA teams and evaluators really wanted to see him play. But there's no denying that the kid has been crazy impactful, and you can see the talent. Even though the numbers don't show it, he's got a pretty smooth looking stroke. I like his playmaking feel. I think that he's going to be a good player, but he's got to prove that he could stay healthy for all of that potential to materialize. At pick 13, the Portland Trailblazers are going to take Ryan Dunn. Look, they have a bunch of scorers in their backcourt. They took Cody Williams to play a toolsy do-it-all role. Now they need a defensive stopper at the wing, and that's what Ryan Dunn offers. He has a block percentage over 10 right now, a steal percentage over 5. He has been an absolute monster on the defensive end. The offense is a little bit raw right now. He really is a non-shooter at the moment, but the form is pretty good. I think he needs reps and confidence. Ryan Dunn is the kind of player that I think could rise in this process, given his physical tools and the fact that Virginia players typically turn out to be pretty good pros. So even if the shot isn't there right now, all he needs to do is get it to a respectable level for him to be a threat on both sides of the floor. Rounding out our lottery, the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to select Kevin McCullar Jr. from Kansas. The 5th-year wing has been tremendous this year. He has been one of the most impactful players in college basketball. He has always been one of the best perimeter defenders, the most versatile players. But the question was always, can he shoot it? Well, this year, it looks like maybe all of a sudden he can. He's been a guy who's been able to play make. He's been able to get to the rim. He's been a cutter. He's been a role player. He's the star at Kansas. He stepped up to that role and really made the most of it. I've been around him the last 2 off seasons, watching him train, watching him work out, watching him hone that shot. The dude is one of the nicest guys in the game. He is a hard, tireless worker, and the Oklahoma City Thunder like dribble, pass, shoot, and defend kind of players. That is Kevin McCullar to a T. At number 15, the Phoenix Suns are going to take the very big man out of Purdue, Zaccharie. Look, the Phoenix Suns right now are a team that just needs impactful basketball players. And I know that Zaccharie might seem a little bit boring because he kind of fits an outdated archetype in the NBA as kind of a post-centric big man who maybe isn't the most scheme versatile on the defensive end. But we cannot deny how dominant he has been in college basketball. He truly has been a monster. He always is leading college basketball in box score plus minus. He's constantly rebounding the ball, scoring the ball, 30-point games, 15 rebound games. He's blocking shots this year. He's looking more mobile. When I saw him in person a couple of years ago, I could not believe how somebody who was that big could be as fluid as he was. And while he's not somebody who's going to be able to get up and down the floor, the Phoenix Suns are older and they play a slower half-court game. Even as a rookie, he's going to be able to come in for short spurts and be productive because he's ready to go. And he's still going to be physically dominant even at the NBA level. So again, the Suns, they get a guy like Zach Edey. They already have their big three, their trio. Now they need the role players to surround them. And in the middle of the first round, that's exactly what they're going to get. At number 16, the Miami Heat are going to take Kyle Filipowski out of Duke. Filipowski is in the midst of a terrific sophomore season. The 7-footer had some hip surgery over the offseason. He's moving a little bit better, but he has been tremendously productive. He is a guy who is now shooting 37% from three, and that was the big question because as pretty as that shot looked, it wasn't going in. Now it is, but he rebounds the ball. He passes the ball. He can beat you down off the bounce. He's finishing way better this year, and he is defending way better this year, whether that's blocking shots at the rim or moving out on the perimeter. He is a smart, heady player, and he fits Heat culture because he's a tough, fiery dude. With the pick at 16, the Miami Heat, Kyle Filipowski. At number 17, the Orlando Magic on the clock. They're going to take Dalton Knecht out of Tennessee. Look, the Orlando Magic are ready to go, man. Paolo and Franz are legit. Jalen Suggs is in the midst of a breakout year. But the fact of the matter is, there is not a hell of a lot of guys on that roster that can shoot the rock. Dalton Knecht at 6'7" can shoot the rock, and don't get it twisted. That dude will yam on your head, man. He is athletic. The transfer, who's now at Tennessee, is proving that he was legit at the mid-major level, and he is legit at the high major level. He is a complimentary dude that could score at all three levels, play off of Paolo and Franz without giving up a ton of size. That sounds like the perfect fit for Orlando, because right now, the Magic, they took a guy like Jet Howard. They're still waiting on him. He's young. Dalton Knecht is a little bit older with more experience. He's ready to go to help the Orlando Magic really start cooking in the playoffs. At number 18, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to take Tyler Smith from the D-League Ignite. I've long been a fan of Tyler Smith. When he was playing with the Overtime Elite, that was the first time that I got to see him play in person, and his 6'10" size, beautiful lefty stroke, and athleticism really intrigues me. He has been the most consistent player for this Ignite team, where he's able to pick and pop, he's able to clean up the garbage, he can do a little bit on the low block, but he spaces the floor, he's super athletic. He's just a solid player that at this point of the draft is really great value. I love how he fits off the bench playing with either Evan Mobley or Jared Allen, two non-shooters. So he's going to be able to step out and not crowd the paint area while hopefully learning a little something defensively so he can get a little bit better switching out on the perimeter. But Tyler Smith is a low usage guy who's not going to take the ball out of Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland's hands. He's just going to come in, play a role, and hopefully contribute to a Cavaliers squad. At number 19, the New York Knicks are going to take Yves Missi from Baylor. The 6'10" big man is one of the more intriguing bigs in the draft. He's super fluid. He can go catch a lob. He is ridiculously athletic, and he has been terrific on the defensive side of the floor. He's the kind of guy that Coach Tibbs loves to coach and really does well with. Mitchell Robinson struggles to stay healthy, and while Isaiah Hartenstein does an amazing job as a backup, if either of those two guys go out, Missi can come in and maybe contribute in a limited small role while he figures out his NBA footing and learns the nuances of the game. But as it is, getting to come along slowly as a raw big man, learning under the defensive mastermind, Tom Thibodeau, is a great scenario from the big from Baylor. At pick 20, the fall finally ends for USC's Isaiah Collier. Look, this happens every year, so before you say, how could Collier fall to 20? It happened last year with Cam Whitmore. Somebody is going to slide, and Isaiah Collier has really struggled in evaluators' eyes. For every flashy pass, there's an equally troubling turnover. He's struggling with his shot, with his three ball, with his free throws. He's putting a ton of pressure on the rim, and he's generating a ton of free throws. So there are some positive signs, but as it is, if you look at his box score plus minus, it is sub 3. The only 3 players that have left college after their freshman season and made it as rotation players with a sub 3 box score plus minus is Zach LaVine, Jaden McDaniels, and Peyton Watson. So it's not a long list. Right now, he's looking like a guy that should go back to hone his craft, but if he comes out, a team will eventually bet on the talent, and that's what the Pelicans are going to do at 20. At 21, the New York Knicks are back on the clock, and they are going to take Marquette point guard Tyler Kolek. Kolek is a badass, man. He is the exact kind of personality that Coach Tibbs loves. Kolek has been hyper efficient this year on the offensive end. He scores at all three levels. He's an excellent playmaker and a really underrated and feisty defender. In a lot of ways, he reminds me of Goran Dragic when he played with the Heat. The way that he comes off DHOs with Oso Ighodaro, the way Dragic came off DHOs with Bam Adebayo. I think there are a lot of parallels in their style, that they're both lefties. Kolek might not be a superstar player. He might not be an all-star. He might not be a starter, but at pick 21, if you can get a solid point guard, he's going to make mistakes and will impact the game in positive ways. I think that's a win. So at 21, the New York Knicks take Big East's Tyler Kolek. At pick 22, the Indiana Pacers are going to take Kwame Evans out of Oregon. It took Evans a little bit to get started, but he is really starting to heat up and play well. Maybe it coincides a little bit with getting point guard Jackson Shelstad back, but Kwame Evans is showing that he has a ton of intriguing NBA tools. He has been a monster on the defensive end, super versatile. He's playing some small ball five. He blocks shots. He gets steals. He has a little bit of a self-creation with a mid-post game. He can knock down threes, and I really think his playmaking is intriguing. He's not the most efficient guy on the floor right now, but he's starting to come into his own. He's knocking down his free throws now, and I think that he has some real sleeper potential in this draft. Some NBA team is going to bet on the potential of a 6'10" kid that can really defend like he can. At number 23, the Atlanta Hawks, back on the clock, are going to take PJ Hall out of Clemson. Hall might be the ACC Player of the Year this year. He has been insanely good for the Clemson Tigers. Hall has a mid-post game. He's got a smooth touch as a shooter. He's going to serve as a pick-and-pop threat with Trae Young. He can rebound the ball. He can defend a little bit. He has become a much better shot blocker. He's strong. He plays hard. He is just a super solid, productive, older prospect that is going to be ready to play a little bit sooner than maybe somebody who's raw and has a little bit more upside. But the Atlanta Hawks are trying to win, so PJ Hall in the 20s, great value. At number 24, the OKC Thunder are back on the clock, and they're going to take Dillon Jones from Weber State. Now, Dillon Jones is a little bit of a sleeper. He's a little bit under the radar because even after having a productive pre-draft process last year, he decided to come back, not transfer, and stay at Dame's alma mater, Weber State. And right now, he is dominating. He is somebody who is a 20, 10, and 5 threat every single night. He does it all for Weber State. He can dribble. He can pass. He can shoot. 6'6", he's long, and he has a brilliant basketball mind, and he loves the game. I got to spend time with him over the spring, watch him work out, watch him train, pick his mind, got to watch film with him. You can check that out on the No Ceilings YouTube channel as well. Dillon Jones is somebody that if you don't know who he is, you should get familiar because he is the exact kind of player the Oklahoma City Thunder would select at this part of the draft. At number 25, the Denver Nuggets are going to select Oso Ighodaro from Marquette. I think that this is a home run pick for the Denver Nuggets, who have been drafting older players over recent years, hoping that they can fit in with their core as they pursue not just a championship, but championships. And Oso Ighodaro is the exact kind of big man that can come in off the bench where they won't lose a ton when Jokic rests, because he's an excellent playmaker. He's not a guy who's going to stretch the floor necessarily, but he's athletic, he finishes, he's got touch on floaters. He's super fun, just a heady, smart player that can defend a little bit too. So he's a guy who maybe is not going to play a ton of minutes because Nikola Jokic is going to be your 35-minute per game big man, especially in the playoffs, but he's going to be a guy who you're not losing a ton when Jokic does have to sit, and he's a little bit older and ready to go right now. At number 26, the Indiana Pacers are back on the clock, and they're going to take Bobi Klintman, the Swedish swingman who is currently playing with Cairns down under in the NBL. Bobi Klintman is a transfer. He went to Wake Forest last year, decided to go pro playing in the NBL. He's a guy who can grab and go. He's going to spot up, knock down shots. He's been really strong and solid as a cutter this year, moving off the ball. Just a guy who's toolsy with size and fits the direction of the modern NBA. At number 27, we're heading back to Colorado as the Sixers are going to take Tristan da Silva. Silva is a really intriguing prospect because he has star role player written all over him. Really smooth stroke, big, long, can pass the ball, he can defend. Just a guy who's going to be able to complement your stars. He's going to star in his role. Maybe doesn't have a ton of upside, but is going to be a guy who can play off of others. We don't know what the Sixers plan on doing with Tobias Harris, but you can never add enough versatile shooters in the front court around Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, a guy who doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective, just a solid role player. You're getting that at the end of the first round. That's a home run for the Philadelphia 76ers. At number 28, with the Milwaukee Bucks on the clock, they are going to take Tyrese Proctor from Duke, the Australian 6'5" guard. Proctor came in with a lot of hype during this draft cycle. Some projected him as a top 5 pick. He has not lived up to that hype, but even though he hasn't lived up to that hype, he has been solid. Maybe he isn't going to be a superstar point guard, but he has really been good playmaking and taking care of the ball. He doesn't turn the ball over a ton. The shot looks good. The percentages aren't as elite as you would like, but he's got good size. He's got good feel. He's ultimately going to be able to defend a little bit better when his frame fills out. And even though the Australian guard maybe didn't pan out this year, he's still a guy that does have the potential to continue to get better. He's a bigger guard. NBA teams love that. It's going to be able to keep him on the court. And for the Bucks, you're going to be able to put him in the G League and then hopefully get some backup minutes with him when Dame needs a little bit of rest. So at this part of the draft, getting a guy who had lottery buzz at the beginning of the season could be a really good outcome. At number 29, the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to take the swing of swings right now with AJ Johnson, who is also playing down in the NBL. Johnson had committed to Texas initially, but he decommitted and then went to play for the Illawarra Hawks, LaMelo Ball's former team. Johnson is a 6'6" combo guard who is just super smooth with the ball in his hands. He can create space. He can hit step backs. He's got good feel. I think he's really grown as a defender this year. Now, it hasn't been a great move for his draft stock because he's had to earn his time and he's playing in very, very limited minutes. But if you're going to take a swing, I think taking a swing on a talent like AJ Johnson is super worthwhile. I saw him in a game with Rob Dillingham, Stephen Castle, Kwame Evans, Justin Edwards, DJ Wagner, Elmarko Jackson. He was the best player on the floor. It's a great swing for a Timberwolves franchise that is currently first in the Western Conference. And rounding out our first round is Justin Edwards going 30th to the Boston Celtics. Look, how the mighty have fallen. Edwards had a lot of top 5 buzz coming into the year, even some potential number 1 overall buzz coming into the year. He's 6'8". He's athletic, he's big, he's strong, he's long, but it just hasn't come together for the wing from Kentucky this year. Now, sometimes Kentucky players don't get to show their full game at Kentucky. They look better in NBA context. But for Edwards, it's going to come down to how much force does he play with? Because the talent is there, right? He has all of the tools. I was at the Nike Hoop Summit last year and I had an NBA executive tell me, look, I don't know, Justin Edwards might be a tease. He looks good, but is he going to put it together? The executive's been exactly right so far with his freshman season. Not to mention, Edwards is a little bit older than your typical freshman. However, he's got the tools and, with the right team, being patient, he's somebody that could potentially really, really reward you. You get him on a cheap, guaranteed contract. You can let him develop in your G League program and then bring him up when he's ready. Justin Edwards, another guy who fell a little bit, but is a worthwhile bet to close out the first round of the draft. Thanks for watching No Ceiling's January edition of our mock draft. For the second round in the mock, you can head to NoCeilingsNBA.com, view the entire mock draft. We also have write-ups of the first round, picks 1 through 30 from the entire team, giving reasoning on how they're fit beyond what I gave in this video. So, NoCeilingsNBA.com, subscribe. It's free. You'll get an email with an article sent to you every single day, Monday through Friday. You can also subscribe to the No Ceilings NBA podcast, anywhere podcasts are available. If you're not yet, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's right down there. Share it with your friends. Until next time, thanks for watching. I'm out. Peace.